And good welcome to the United Stand. How are we all doing? Another great show planned for you. I'm going to have Rodney with me in a minute, which I know is going to get you all turned on. But let's start off with what we're going to talk about. Alvaro Morata, Fabinho, Matic, Nainggolan, lots of other things. Is Manchester United's transfer window causing you any problems, frustrations? Apparently there is rumour that this is causing Mourinho a few problems. It's not the transfer window he planned, and we'll be getting into a bit of a depth about that in a moment. And also, what I'd also like to talk about is the fact that Alvaro Morata has apparently flown into Spain to finalise this deal with Manchester United. Not to mention, about 4 o'clock tonight, there was talk of James Rodriguez being back on to Manchester United. I mean, my only thing I would say about that is, if we're in for James Rodriguez, how the hell are we planning to get 2 deals done with Real Madrid? I don't know how we're planning on doing that. But I haven't got Rodney with it at the moment, so I'm just going to fly in. I did get a haircut, thank you very much, and I am wearing a United Stand t-shirt, yes, and you can get the t-shirts, as I said to you before, link is in the video description. Still only available in the UK and America, but we'll have more of that in a moment. Let's fly into it. So Morata apparently coming in the next 24 hours. Is that realistic? I tell you what, I don't really want to put my mortgage on it. I do think Morata will come to Manchester United, but it very much is how long is a piece of string. On the point of whether we should be concerned about Manchester United's plans around the transfers and whether it is becoming frustrating, just to give you a bit of a background to that. This is in an article that's come out today that basically Manchester United let me just send this. Manchester United, Jose Mourinho had a list that he gave to Ed Woodward. Eric is his brother. And the Matic thing is apparently his third on the list, behind Nainggolan and Eric Dyer. And what Mourinho specifically said was that I'll get Rodney on now, I've got him with me. What Mourinho specifically has apparently said was that he didn't want Ed Woodward to waste his time on signings like Neymar and, Fabregas, Sergio Ramos, like he has in the past. He purposely set up a list of players that would serve the purpose in relation to the squad, but also not mean that he can get his business done early, because Mourinho likes to get his business done early. And apparently, well, abundantly clear, that has not happened. So despite going for transfers that they felt they could get done and would improve the squad, they've actually turned into deals like Ramos and everything like that, where it just takes ages and ages. And this is sort of replicated around, I was going to say Europe, but the world really, that this is a really weird transfer window. It's overinflated, it's hard to get deals done, and it's not just Manchester United who are victim of that. But the thing that is apparently frustrating Mourinho is that he wanted his business done early, and he can't get it done early because of the problems they're facing with Perisic at Inter Milan. They're digging their feet in. Morata, his value is probably about £20 million more than they wanted to pay. And they've got Lindelof done. Matic being the third choice because they couldn't get the first choice. I'll bring you in at this point, Rodney. I mean, we're just talking there about the summer transfer window. How do you think it's going? I mean, do you think Mourinho is being... I mean, I don't really want to talk about how you can bring in how you feel, obviously, but do you think this story that Mourinho has been frustrated and let down indirectly or directly by Woodward by what is a very weird market? Because we have targeted players that you'd think we'd be able to get done, but we're not able to get these deals done for various reasons.
Right, apologies for getting on to you late, but I'm here now. I think Mourinho probably is frustrated. I think we're frustrated in terms of the way that the transfers have kind of not panned out, but kind of floated around in midair and teased us in a kind of fanciful fashion. Mourinho is, what we know of anything of him, is a very diligent manager who will have identified the weaknesses in our squad, despite us winning numerous trophies last year, and he would have left that list with Woodward. Now, for whatever reason, I think you mentioned this yesterday, that Matic was third choice. Obviously, the manager's not going to be happy with the third choice. He would expect the first and second choice to be secured and signed up. He has a vision for the club, which obviously, if Woodward doesn't deliver, will kind of backfire on him as a manager. So I can understand why he may be frustrated. But I mean, me as a fan, I'm frustrated just by looking around. One, with the rumours that keep coming. Well, and let's say the rumours, the names that keep coming back into rotation. But two, when you look across the city, at City, the names that they're being linked with and potentially have already signed up.
Just for people who've missed that, I mean, I've got Rodney on this week. He's probably going to be on every week, hopefully, because I know you're a big fan of Rodney. He's not visual because I think that just takes away from the velvet tones. But you can drop a like for Rodney signing. You can drop a like for his signing Rodney. You can also drop a like for my haircut as well. And there's a lot of people on about that. But
it looks sharp, Mark.
What we was talking about there, I was going to bring it in. We're already thinking the same thing. I mean, this is paper talk. It could be paper talk like United, but it's sort of indicative, really, of how United fans feel, that we're all frustrated because, and to be honest, the frustration could just be impatience. I accept that, but whilst we don't know whether we're signing Matic or Fabinho, you get Man City leaking that they want Alexis Sanchez first or Mbappe, but if they don't get them, their second choice is Dembele. And we heard, our second choice is Matic, and I think that's the thing. Ousmane Dembele is a second choice option for Manchester City, and Aubameyang as well. And the players they're linked to, and it's not all about stars, but they just seem, and they've already got Bernardo Silva as well. There is an issue when it's City because they're from the same city. There's a rivalry there. There's Pep against Jose, and you can easily say that it's not about the quality of the signing, but it helps if you are signing the best players in the world.
Yeah, it does help. I think it does help that you're signing the best players of the world, but also what helps is the way that you run the club, and it seemed to be run in a very professional manner. The transfer window that we have right now, with the rumours going around, is similar to what we had last year and the year before last and the year before last. We are constantly linked with players at Real Madrid. Real Madrid wouldn't sell us anyone, to be fair. They wouldn't. And any player who's at Real Madrid who cannot get into the squad is either wanting to leave and go somewhere where they're going to get a huge salary. I said to you a few weeks ago, as a Manchester United fan, I believe our club is that big. We don't need to buy star players to make us big. We are a big club. We make players big, and I think the manager has identified particular players to strengthen the team where he sees there is a weakness. The business should have been completed. We had 3 trophies. We were high. We just won the Europa League. We should be able to go around and wave wads of cash at people and say, come and join us. We're in the Champions League. It doesn't seem to have happened for whatever reason. We're back in the same cycle. Morata coming or go. Morata reminds me of what's the film, The Tourist, where he's in the airport and he can't get out because he's waiting for someone to come. It's similar to that.
Yeah.
Do we want this guy? Yes. If we do, pay the money and get him back to Old Trafford as quickly as possible. I don't understand what is taking so long with this deal. I really don't.
Well, I mean, just to keep everybody up to date with what we know at the moment. So you've got Morata. Who knows how long's a piece of string when he's going to sign, but Madrid are definitely going to get more than he's worth. You've got Fabinho that European press says we're in for, UK press says no. We all want him, and I think I'm in denial until he signs because I just don't want to get my hopes up. You've got Perisic, which appears to be Woodward just not willing to get mugged off and wants to get him for a decent price. And then you've got Matic, who is apparently, we're 24 hours into the 48 hours he's going to have his medical. So he's going to have his medical tomorrow, if you believe what the UK press says. On top of that, you've got Nainggolan in a swimming pool, probably playing us for a better contract at Roma. I was getting excited today, but he's saying, I've got to ponder my future. I think he wants to stay in Rome and he's playing us for a better contract. Wouldn't be the first. Yep. Rodriguez, I mean, the source who said that, I think, is full of it. So I don't really believe that. But Rodriguez could happen, but we're dealing with Real Madrid again. So how long would that take? And away from that, I don't know whether we're in for any other players. But what I would say, Rodney, is that a lot of people in the live comments are making me laugh with some of their comments. But there's some serious ones in there saying that we are the transfer window doesn't open until July, which you do see. T3 did triple D. If I could repeat that, you just made me laugh, you little sod. But
Reading it.
It's he says I look like a lesbian. There you go. But with this haircut, he's jealous. Maybe he fancies me, but maybe he's a she. But the thing I was going to say is that this July the 1st transfer window doesn't open till then. It's something that gets thrown around every year, and it's sort of irrelevant because you can sign players before that. Mourinho always has done. This isn't. I mean, I think we all know this is not going to plan. But you can't blame Mourinho. You might not even be able to blame Woodward unless they just want to overpay for everybody. We're a business at the end of the day.
It is a business, but I think Man United. I think because of the way we've conducted ourselves before in terms of the players that we purchased, and particularly with Wayne Rooney's contract, that's probably the thing that people look at the most. They think that they can, one, hike up the price because we have loads of money. Two, that whoever wants to join us will probably think he's going to double his money or be somewhere equivalent to the salary that someone like Wayne Rooney is getting as an offset to playing in Manchester. I honestly don't know why there is it's such a slow pace in terms of signing players. If this is something that I thought about yesterday when I was listening to your show. Imagine if we had Griezmann and we'd signed him up and then the rumour was leaked about Matic. Would we have been so sad? Would we have been so down in the mouth thinking we don't want Chelsea cast-offs? We would have probably thought, not too bad. £40 million strengthens our defence, but because we haven't bought that stellar signing, because we haven't picked up the top 10 striker that we need to push us into the Champions League strata officially, because let's be honest, Rashford and Martial aren't ready yet, but they will be. We're now left with what would have been, and looking at the third choice. It's like going to a Blue Cross sale, walking around the store for an hour before you can actually buy anything, but not picking up the choice items because you're too slow. I think that's what's happening with Man United right now, and I don't know whether. I mean, I would blame Woodward because for me as a manager, if Mourinho's job is to deliver trophies, he's delivered. Next job, you pass on the list to Woodward. Woodward, whatever you're doing throughout the year, this is where you earn your crust. That's it. Get the players in so the manager can then carry on with what he needs to do. So I would actually put fault at Woodward because if he was given a list, deliver on the list. If you can't, say you can't and go to the next one. But the rumours don't help us.
No, and I think that I'm reading a lot of the comments. You're still making me laugh, a lot of you, but some of you are talking about football as well. And I wanted to bring this in. I will read some of them out, don't worry. But I suppose when you look at where we are at the moment, the big issue is that I think we are back in training a week on Monday. Yeah, I know. So, and I think our first game. In fact, I've got my diary here. Let me have a look.
Isn't it the 12th?
Our first game in the tour.
The tour, right?
The tour is July. I've got something interesting in my diary as well. I can read you as well. But our first game in the tour is the 15th. So we've got we're back on the 8th. So no, we can't be back on the 8th of July. We must be back on the 10th.
Yeah.
We're back on the 10th, and then we're playing in America on the Saturday. So we have basically got next week, and then the following week, where I bet we're going to America on the Thursday or the Wednesday because, why not? So we basically got, after this week, a week and a half if we want to take players, on the American tour. It's very congested, isn't it? It's very congested, and I think we can all say that the window doesn't open until July, which I would agree with, and maybe on July the 1st you could officially announce the players, but it's abundantly clear we're not even in that position because the press would know that. The press would know if Morata is signed and then we'll unveil him on July the 1st. We're not at that stage. So we're either going to have a very congested week and a half before we go on the US tour where we're going to sign everybody we need, which is probably at least 4 more players, or we're going to go on the US tour without some of these signings, which I don't care what anybody says, that would never have been part of Mourinho's plans. He would have wanted them there from July the 10th.
I can't see how this is going to be in any kind of positive way for us as a team. It is really important that the squad is established and people start to develop kind of bonds and understanding very early on. I know people say that, that will come over a period of time with games and training, but if you're going on tour, you're going to have to get to know people from the very beginning. Just as when the team go away on Champions League duty, they'll be travelling, they'll be staying with each other. They need to get into that mindset very early on. It's not ideal that players aren't signed up before the tour. I don't understand. Me personally, I would rather that the transfer window ends at the 1st of August instead of the 31st, because then the teams do their business. If Man City, for example...
Just to jump in there, it does
yeah.
for me. I think if you're doing your business after August, unless you're Arsenal, you're panicking.
Well,
you're buying.
You're not even Arsenal. You're Stoke.
Van Gaal did it, didn't he?
It doesn't do you any favours. It doesn't do you any favours. You've then got to play possibly 2 or 3 games in the league that you might want a player. Could you imagine the scenario now that we're still after Dyer and we get him at the end of August and he might be injured because he's playing for Spurs? These are the kind of things that I think really should be ironed out. I mean, we get the player before the season starts. He joins in. He's part of the training regime. He understands what his position is within the squad. And then the season begins with them fully incorporated and established as a member. I don't understand why, one, as a manager, but 2, as a chairman, you would not want that to be the situation for your club, especially Manchester United. I don't get it. We've had 3 years of mishmash. We need to move forward and be very, very consistent.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to read from my diary, just to give people, this is quite an interesting thing as well. It sort of lends us to not panicking, but let's not forget that last year was the Euros, so signing anybody in June was very, very difficult. So we signed Lindelof a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? So we actually officially signed Bailly on the Thursday, the 8th of June. So that's sort of 1-1, isn't it? Because we've got Lindelof. Then our next signing was July the 1st, which would be this Saturday when we signed Zlatan. Then we signed Mkhitaryan on the 6th, which would be next Thursday. And then obviously Pogba was quite late that we know of. Going back to the season before, Darmian was signed on the 11th. Schweinsteiger and Schneiderlin were signed on the 13th. And then it would be US tour time. So it can be done, and it will be done. But I suppose it begs the question of how many players you think we're going to sign, Rodney, because if we've got Lindelof already, we're consistently told that we're signing 4 players. But when you look at where that 4 players has been told from, it's coming from the same sources that we're now saying are talking nonsense. The Telegraph, your Sun, your Metro. That's where it's all come from. So why should we believe that we're only signing 4? But we've got Lindelof. We expect Matic probably. I don't know. Morata we expect, and Perisic. So those 4. We need to get 3 done, and I expect we will get them done. But, I mean, do you expect us to bring anybody else in, or do you think you'll be content with that?
I mean, the 4 you've named, definitely I would like to see in. I would like to see Dembele from Dortmund come in, actually.
I'd love it.
I think he's a talent. I think when you look at that France team, there are quite a few young boys in there that would grace any Premiership side, and I think for me, he's the one that would actually be kind of like the final piece of the jigsaw. The Perisic deal is another one. Inter Milan playing hardball because they want more than 30. It's really strange that Woodward would play hardball with Inter over £30 million, but won't go over the mark for Morata when we need a striker. Out of all of the positions in the team, we need a goal scorer. That's it. Secure your goal scorer. If you are to look at the top 10 strikers in Europe, they're all tied up. They're all tied up on long-term deals. They're on big wages. And we really need to go out of our way to entice someone to join us as a Champions League team. You don't want to dilly-dally and dither in terms of whether or not you're going to bring someone in. It doesn't make you as a team look good.
I tell you what bothers me is that we are dallying a little bit, and I don't blame Mourinho for it. I think it may well be the transfer market itself. It's very odd this year. But we don't. There was something in the paper this morning. Again, I don't really give it much credence, but saying that we might actually go into the new season with a squad of 30 first team players, and Mourinho might do that, so he's got a big squad. I mean, this is the second thing. We get asked this a lot on people message me and on the live comments. When are you going to talk about players out the door? And we purposely haven't spoken about players going out the door because Mourinho is a buy first, sell manager. He'll want the players in first so that he can then assess and get rid. But that's another thing, isn't it? If we're basically going to be buying players up to and on the US tour, we're going to be the flip side that nobody's really mentioned, and I thought about this afternoon, is if we're getting our signings in late, then that means we're taking players. If he had all his signings done by the start of July, he's got 7 days before we go on the US tour to say, Rooney, you're not coming. Smalling, you're not coming. Darmian, you're not coming. Whoever, Januzaj, you're not coming. What's going to happen now, he's going to have to take all them lot on the tour with him, which elongates when we sell them because we're on the tour, which also impacts on people like Fosu Mensah, Pereira, who don't get game time because he's giving it to people who shouldn't even be on the tour, who should be sold. Everything gets pushed back, and his plans get pushed back. And I don't know what you think about that, but it is something that it does annoy me a little bit because I think if Mourinho's plan is to get rid of Rooney, he might want to have done that by the start of July, so he's not even going on the tour. Because if you take Rooney on the tour, the American audience are going to expect to see Wayne Rooney. But to be honest with you, if we're selling him, 1 minute in one game on the tour is a wasted minute that somebody who's going to be part of the future could take.
Do you know what, Mark? You're making me laugh. To be honest, I would be, if I was Mourinho, be ruthless in the sense that I would let those players that have no future at Old Trafford, I'd let them know now before the tour. Even if it meant taking them and still saying you still haven't got a future, but you're under contract to play for the club until you're sold. In terms of Rooney, I would take him because we need him off our books as quickly as possible. We need to find an MLS team and see if he can stay there for 6 months so that he can kind of acclimatise for the following year because he's not fit. He's hanging on for dear life to be at Old Trafford because no one else will pay his wages. Personally, I wouldn't even have him in the squad list, let alone he'd be backup because he's not the future. He's not the future for us and he's not the future for England. So the names that you've mentioned, Januzaj, he can go. Smalling, well, Smalling or Jones, it's a toss of a coin really. It's heads or tails. It's which one you can stomach the most. Definitely Rooney. And there's a few others that are just kind of hanging around. I mean, even Ashley Young. I mean, I don't dislike him, but he's had his time.
I don't dislike Ashley Young. I just think he's an oxygen thief in the sense that if we've got to find games for him, there are better players that should be getting games ahead of him, and it's a spot being taken by somebody who earns over 100 grand a week, might I add, as well. But this is the problem. Mourinho is a buy first sell. He's not getting the people in the door, so he can't sell. I mean, God forbid, I hope this will happen. But what I hope he changes his approach.
I hope he changes his approach because I don't think if he were to wait until we get players in, then who are we going to sell those players to? They really need to be told very, very quickly that then they don't have a future at Old Trafford and they need to seek another club. They really do.
I mean, somebody there is nothing. Careful on the live comments because people will put stuff up there that's not true. There's no deal agreed with Morata yet. There's no deal agreed with Morata yet. And what else? A lot of people on about Morata. It's not done, so you can take that as gospel there. But I mean, somebody said it this afternoon as well. The problem that United could face is that it's all right to say Man City are signing Dembele or Mbappe or Aubameyang or whoever else, Alexis Sanchez. But when you look at Manchester City's squad, their first team squad, they've trimmed it very quickly. Guardiola got rid of a load of players very, very quickly. And they've got a lot of gaps in their team that they can probably buy 5 or 6 players and their squad is about right. United's, we're adding to what at the moment is a very fat deadwood squad. And we've got rid of nobody. Nobody is gone. And we could go into it carrying some of that fat still because it's too difficult to get rid of.
We are bloated in terms of the players that we have that aren't actually pulling their weight for the team. The amount of money that some players are paid generally in football is obscene. So when you think of the players that are at Old Trafford, not playing every week, sitting on the bench occasionally, may get an injury. I'm not picking on Jones, but maybe I am. Every now and then to play a few games so that people can say, oh, he's back to form. Those players aren't good enough for us, and they've been paid handsomely for not doing a very good job. The club needs to be ruthless. As fans, as much as we support every player, we need to be honest and say, if they're not doing a job for us, if they're not pulling their weight, they need to go. They need to go. They need to go somewhere else, and we need to get players in who want to play for Manchester United. And it needs to start with Mourinho being very ruthless and saying, you have no future here. You have no future. And that will probably speed up the purchases. And it will definitely tell Woodward that he needs to pull his finger out, because all of the other teams around have been linked with particular players of interest in young, fast and pacey players and skillful players. Our names keep going back into the hat with Real Madrid. It's like that lover that you can't get rid of, you know, your first love that you dislike, but you keep phoning her because you just think something might happen. We need to kind of look beyond Real Madrid and think, where's our scouting system? Who can we bring in to embolden our squad so that we are a top quality Champions League team? And it needs to happen really, really quickly.
The plan for tonight was just to do half an hour, but Rodney came on a little bit later, and I'm sure he'd like to stay on a little bit longer. We've got 3,900 people watching. Please do drop a like. If we hit 1,000 likes while we're live on air, we'll carry on. And also, share the link, because we could go over 4,000, and then we'll definitely stay on. If you are somebody who's new tonight, hit the subscribe button bottom right-hand corner and get involved with the United Stand community. It's been making me laugh a hell of a lot on the live comments tonight, and there's a few things I would like to talk about still as well.
Yeah,
but what I was going to say next, Rodney, was obviously we've spoken about the transfer window and how it's obviously not going to plan. We've still got a lot of deadwood in the squad. We will be going on. We're actually playing our first, Manchester United's first. I mean, this is going to get you excited, everybody. It will. We are playing our first game 2 weeks on Saturday, which seems ridiculous. But 2 weeks on Saturday, we are playing Real Madrid, I think, or is it LA Galaxy? I think it's LA Galaxy our first game. 2 weeks on Saturday. And once we're on the tour, people can say that the transfer window opens on July the 1st. But once we're on that tour, I think you can forget signings, really. I really do. I mean, I'm sure Woodward might be trying to get some done, but Mourinho's mind won't be on it. 3 a.m. on Saturday the 15th, we are playing LA Galaxy.
Wow.
So it's coming in thick and fast, and I'm very excited about it. Are you excited about the season ahead, or is that just blind faith? Or do you genuinely feel at this point, and I think it's a valid time to say it to everybody, and I will read some of the live comments on this, at this point in time, where are you excited about what United can achieve next season, considering Mourinho wins the title in his second year everywhere, and we're also in the Champions League? Are you honestly expecting us to be more successful than we were last season?
I am honestly positive about next season. I believe that Mourinho has kind of pulled together a kind of mindset from some of the players that wasn't there before. Even if we don't bring in any new players within the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think everyone who's there knows that they've got a job to do, apart from the deadwoods who should be gone. And I believe that they have a winning mentality, especially in European competition, which is not a league in itself, but kind of a knockout group stage thing, which is what they need to have gained under their belt. So I'm confident. Hopefully, the team come back and adopt his ruthlessness in terms of winning at all costs, but obviously winning with style, which you could kind of probably say in terms of the Matic signing, which probably goes against what I've just said, but who knows what will happen.
You know what? You can't judge a season on your expectations on transfers.
Yeah.
We saw that with Van Gaal. He bought a load of players and we went, oh yeah, we're going to be really good. And we saw it last summer to a certain extent. Pogba, Zlatan, Mkhitaryan, Bailly, we're going to win the league. Even I fell into that trap, which was stupid because We should never have gone from Van Gaal to winning the league. That would have been Houdini. That's beyond even Mourinho. It was unrealistic, but we fell into that trap. I think United. I will not write us off winning the title next year because Mourinho does it in his second season. He's had a full year at the club. And there's a lot of things undercooking. I want to read some of the comments, but somebody just mentioned Luke Shaw. There's a lot of things that, if they went right, they're almost like new signings. You've got Luke Shaw. You've got Martial and Mkhitaryan, who had mixed seasons last year, who can be top class. You've got Andreas Pereira coming back. If he uses him, he's like a new signing. You've then got Morata, who could basically solve the number 9 problem. So that's 5 people straight away. Then you've got Pogba, a year more experienced and a year better. Herrera, Valencia, De Gea, if he stays. You're suddenly getting quite a Mata, still part of the squad. There's a lot to be positive about. But can I promise that the football will be pretty? And it has to be at Manchester United. That would be my concern at the moment. I can't promise that. But it isn't all about the signings, and I think that's a lot of what a lot of people are saying in the live comments. If Luke Shaw can get fit, if Pereira is used, and let's not forget people like Fosu Mensah, Rashford, they're a year older as well. There's not a hell of a lot wrong with the squad as it is, and maybe that's Mourinho's thought. I'm just going to add a couple of bits of garnish to it, and I'm quite happy with the plate I've got.
Yeah. On the Luke Shaw one, I'm kind of last season when he was getting some strong words from Mourinho or tough love. I wasn't sure what side of the fence I was on, whether Mourinho was too harsh or he was spot on. And then I had to kind of think back to the fact that he had a broken leg, and I kind of equated it to the time when Valencia broke his leg. And it took him a good few years before he was back to being the player that we know now. And that might be the same case for Luke Shaw. I think he had his harsh words last year. I think once he gets back to fitness, I think he will realise what Mourinho wants from him as a player, how he's meant to function within the team. And I think it could be a good year for him. I really do. I think he will be a key individual because we had lots of a pace and attack on the right-hand side, and it wasn't necessarily the same on the left. Occasionally, or at Martial when he was playing, he did offer that kind of attack. But I think from a defensive point of view, Mourinho likes his fullbacks to be very attacking, but also understand how to defend as well. So I'm kind of, for him, I'm expecting him to kind of have a really, really good season, as well as the others like Mkhitaryan and Martial. But I'm hoping he does, because I think he really does need to.
Yeah, Barry, Sturren, I gave one to somebody else as well. As I said there, I don't think I really got to the point that I wanted to make, is that, I'm a little bit older than a lot of you, and I have seen, I think when I was in my early 20s and late teens, I'd look at people who weren't Manchester United who were spending a lot of money. I've seen Newcastle do it. I've seen Liverpool do it. I remember Liverpool doing it. Remember that summer Liverpool did it, and they bought, to be honest, they got it the wrong way around anyway. They spent a hell of a lot of money on defenders. I think they bought John Scales, Phil Babb, McAteer. They were spending a lot of money anyway. But there's
high quality players you named there, Mark.
They spent a lot of money on them. I think they spent $3 million on Phil Babb, which was probably equivalent to about 50 million now. But there's not just been them. There is always a team. Chelsea have done it. To be fair, it probably worked for them. But there's always been clubs who spend a lot of money, and you think, they're going to be a good team next year. It doesn't always work out like that. And United spent a lot of money last summer, and we became sixth. On paper, those signings added to what we had. People probably did think, bloody hell, Pogba, 90 million, they might win the league. We didn't get close. So Pep, if he does sign 3 or 4 players, doesn't mean they're going to obliterate everybody. Was it middle September they'd won every game last year, and where didn't they get near the title? So just because people sign players doesn't actually mean a hell of a lot. I think the perfect way of managing, I think Sir Alex Ferguson didn't sign enough players in the summers, but the perfect way is to have the team that you've got and maybe sprinkle 2 or 3 each summer just to keep everybody on their toes. So if you look at United, where we finished last season, 6th wasn't good enough, but it was a very false position because we drew so many at home against poor sides. We missed so many chances. we should have been well and truly settled into top four on what, well, not on what we deserved. We got what we deserved, but we were very lacklustre in front of goal. So I don't think we're far off. I think you made a great point, Rodney, about Griezmann and how we would feel at this point in time if Griezmann was here, because we'd have Griezmann and Lindelof, which is more than City. Well, City have got a nobody goalkeeper. It's more than Liverpool or Arsenal or Chelsea have done at this point. So if we had Lindelof and Griezmann, which we would have done if Griezmann hadn't changed his mind, as you said, if Matic was coming in next, we might all be going, I'd prefer Fabinho, but I think we'd be like, well, we've got Griezmann. That signing, and I have said this a few times, and I don't know whether it's getting through to everybody, but I think a lot of people are starting to realise this. That Griezmann signing, I don't really blame Woodward at the moment because I don't know the full story. I certainly don't blame Mourinho. But that Griezmann dropping it out there, I was very harsh on Griezmann. Some people said I was too harsh, but I totally get what's happened there. It messed Manchester United's summer up massively. We'd built this deal up for at least 6 months. At least last November I was being told by people he's coming to United, and it's continued and continued. He's flirted, and then right at the last minute, Atletico Madrid chuck a load of money at him and a guilt trip, and he stays. Well, United's, that's the number 7 shirt. That's our big signing. It's the summer's big signing at United. It's the big Galactico. Everybody else comes in around him. You know, I think Morata would have come in, Lindelof, Perisic, and maybe Matic, but Griezmann would have been the star, and we would have been really happy with that. The reason United fans are getting frustrated is because we haven't got that star signing now, and that's brought a lot of uncertainty. But that's not United's fault. I mean, can you really have a backup plan when a player is telling you he's coming and he's going to be your number 7?
I mean, with the Griezmann one, I'm with you in a sense that I don't blame Woodward. But what I would say is that as a CEO, you need to have a backup plan.
Well, Pog Boom's just said that. He said we should have known that they had an impending transfer ban, and as a big company, we should have been prepared for the worst, because that's what big businesses do.
Well, in all honesty, Woodward isn't going into those deals alone. There must be a legal team that looks at every aspect of signing a player. There must be a legal team that looks at the club they're signing a player from. They must look at to see if there's third-party ownership. They need to look at all of those things, you know. And the fact that no one actually thought, okay, you know what, this might not go through. We need a plan B. Let's look at this guy in case it doesn't go through. And, you know, I'm not a poker player, but they needed to have played poker in the sense that they showed their hand and they waved it around the table saying, yeah, this is what the cards that we have. And then it fell flat on their face. And it comes back on us as United fans, because everyone kind of says, aha, you know, you didn't get the player that you were meant to get and you thought you were going to. When really, and I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago, I would really like United to go back to a time where you just heard that we'd signed a player and the deal was done secretly. I understand Woodward is very good at getting deals with Adidas and all of those other corporate companies like Chevrolet. But when you're purchasing a player that everyone wants to buy, you really do need to go about your business in a very kind of professional and almost secretive way, because you don't want anyone to gazump you. And to be honest, we were gazumped by the club that actually owned him, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, I'd agree. What else was going to say? There's a lot of people on the live. I'm typing away because there's a lot of people keep going on about Morata. Look, Morata will sign for United. I don't think anybody's got any concerns about that. When it will happen, who knows? But he hasn't signed yet. He hasn't.
I mean, I've got a little bit of a concern about it, Mark. I have to be honest with you, because I mean, his name again has been linked in the same way that Griezmann was linked, and I'm concerned that it's out there like the kite in the middle of a stormy day. And we really do need to get that kite pulled in quickly as possible before it gets struck by lightning, either by another team or Real Madrid play silly buggers and decide not to sell. I keep going back to the fact that Woodward needs to sort out this deal, whatever it is. If it's De Gea and they say we want De Gea to go in the opposite way, be very blunt and say, no, he's not leaving, he's under contract. How much do you want? This is it. This is the money that we have. Do you want the money, yes or no?
Yeah.
And
then Chelsea want a striker, and it has been mentioned for a long time that they're doing everything they can to try and get him. I mean, I was totally convinced that Griezmann was going to come. I really was, and he didn't. So anything is possible. Anything could happen. But who, if we don't get Morata, I really do wonder who's on the backup list. It could be Belotti. I prefer him anyway, to be honest. But
I think we'd probably be on the backup list at this point, Mark. Honestly, I think if Man United don't get Morata, I think we need to go around and act like a spoilt child and just gazump everyone's deal possible. Put our hand in the market and say we want Alexis Sanchez. We'll take every striker we can possibly can. We'll start rumours where there are no rumours, because we've been linked to Morata for so long. Everyone thinks it's a done deal. And if it doesn't go through, we'll have another major signing that has almost snubbed us and gone somewhere else, which for Man United fans, it will probably be difficult to take and shake off for a while. You'll have Liverpool fans laughing their heads off. Not that they've got much to laugh about anyway, but, you know, we don't need to give them any kind of fodder to kind of point stuff in our direction. We're a big team, and I want us to understand, well, not us, Woodward to understand, we as fans understand we're a big team, and he needs to do the deals.
Kinzadza says Morata's just come home from his honeymoon. Joshua says we should get Oxlade-Chamberlain. Tyler says Ronaldo coming home in the summer. Well, we'll see. And Mr. Man United's on about Nainggolan, who we want to talk about in a minute. And Mr. Fresh says, Rodney, you are smoother than Galaxy. But something else I was mentioned today, which I think always restricts United. I don't mention them much. I mentioned them about 2 weeks ago, the Glazers. They are, you know, they've always been a problem for United. They are still a problem for United. Not in the sense that we should have the flags out again and the scarves, but they are businessmen. They bought us off debt because they saw something that, you know, it's a bit like if I could buy McDonald's for £1 million and the bank would give me a loan to do it, I would do it because I know McDonald's is going to continue to make money and money. And then when they're making money, I'll pay my loan off with that. That's what the Glazers did in a very simplistic way. And they've still got the debt there because they just take the profit out and pay the debt off, a bit like your mortgage. You don't have to pay it all off. So it was the worst thing that could happen to United in a way, because they bought us off debt and they are businessmen. And somebody said this to me today, and it could be true, it might not be true, but they said, look, United, the money they make should be able to go, Dortmund, there's 100 million for Dembele, who wants to play with us? There, Aubameyang, you can have 50 for him as well, whatever you want. Verratti, 100 million, who wants to play? You know, Nainggolan, oh, you want to be loyal to Roma, do you? There's 10 million in wages. Do you want to still be loyal? Do you want to come to United? And he comes. That's, a lot of fans feel like that. I do as well. United should be doing that because we've got the money to do it. But what I was told today, and it does make sense, is that United are playing to a budget. Woodward's playing with a budget that is provided to him by the Glazers, and that is the problem. They are not able to go and do what Manchester United should do because they've got shareholders, they've got owners, and they've got a certain amount of money that's allocated for transfers, and Mourinho's got to get his business done within them brackets, and that is the big problem. That's why we are bartering on somebody like Perisic, who some United fans don't even want. That's why we're not in for the 90 million Dembele or something like that. And that is always a problem with United. I think last summer we showed that we can do it when the Glazers let the shackles off. But this could well be a summer where that isn't the case. And we've had it before.
That's really kind of, I'm kind of scratching my head listening to that, Mark, because I think, hold on a minute, we've won a European trophy, so we should have a hefty prize money there. We were sixth in the league, which, you know, is a decent amount of money. We've won 2 other trophies, which means we have money coming in. The revenue from European television rights, the Premiership, all of those things, and we are given a budget that I don't understand how we have a budget to work towards, or Woodward is given a budget. We're Manchester United. This is what I don't understand. We're being asked to go out and shop with stones in a bag. How do we have a budget? The Glazers, and I'm not one to talk about them because I try to, that in a sense, it upsets me. They are the elephant in the room. They have pimped us out, big style. But because talking about the Glazers raises the blood pressure for every Man United fan, they don't talk about it. They go, it's the manager's fault. Or they go, it's the chairman's fault, like I do. But we all know that Manchester United makes so much money. We make so much money as a club. You're right. We should be able to go to any club like Dortmund. We should actually say to Dortmund, you're our feeder club. We'll sponsor you. You don't need to get us. We as Man United will sponsor you, because when you look at what City, and I keep having to go back to City, the way that they have got franchises around the world. Why is it that Manchester United don't have a franchise? Why? It's not that we're not fashionable. It's not that we don't have a fan base. It's not that we don't have.
We've got a women's team, haven't we?
And that upsets me. It upsets me. I have a daughter, and I sit down and I might watch football with her, and she'll be like, "Oh, where's Man United's female team?" And I just look at her and think, "Well, I don't have an answer for that. I have no answer for that at all." A friend of mine, his nephew, or his niece, should I say, plays for England women's team, and I just think to myself, when I have a conversation and he's so proud to talk about her, and I'm thinking, as Man United fans, we're fans of football. We're not just fans of Man United. We're fans of football. We like good football. We should be able to have a female football team that challenges our neighbours. Now, not to go away from the Glazers, they should be able to do something about that. They should be investing in Manchester United. It's okay us doing work on the foundation. That's all well and good, and I do like that. But we are a football club, which means that we should have football at every level and in every gender, which means men and women. And I don't understand how a club of our stature, worldwide brand, doesn't have a female team. It's ridiculous.
I agree. United's Tyrone Williams says United spend 89 million on Paul Pogba. We're not as restricted as Atletico and the likes of Dortmund, and yet they have better teams. United should focus on the academy instead. Monaco are very good at picking up talent as well. I mean, in some ways it's easier to pick up talent when you're a smaller club because you don't pay the United tax, but yeah, you've got to. You can still buy decent players, whatever your budget is. But what I would say about Woodward is that, look, he may well be incompetent. I personally don't think he's done a bad job. I think he was impacted by Moyes and Van Gaal, who made bad choices. He just went out and bought them. But the incompetent, Woodward's driven by the Glazers. Let's be honest, they're his boss, and he will be restricted. If Manchester United was owned by somebody who hadn't bought us on debt, they would be the money would be pouring in. Woodward's job would be basically, Ed, go and buy what you want. And knowing Ed Woodward, he'd probably go and sign Neymar for 300 million, and that would be the level of his incompetence. It would be whoever he chose to sign at whatever ridiculous price. But he will be restricted by what people what his bosses tell them. But it's worth a mention, but it's not an excuse for the moment as to why we haven't done the deals. I'm just going to do a few super chats because I realise they've been whizzing in and I've not managed to read any out. So let's read them. Tony Wright, thank you. He says stadium naming rights could solve the debts. I'm not for that, really, to be honest. Traditionalist. What about you, Rodney?
Sorry, say again. I was just reading one of the comments, actually. What you said?
Tony Wright says stadium naming rights could bring in a bit more money.
Oh no, it's okay. I like Manchester United's Old Trafford. I don't want it to go too far. I want there to be some form of tradition. We don't want to sell everything.
No. Anwar Ali just made a contribution, so thanks to Anwar. Adrian Thomas, thank you. He says Man United should buy Bernardeschi instead of Perisic. Morata can win us the league. We should play 3-5-2 in some games like we did against Chelsea. Agree. I do like Bernardeschi from Fiorentina. And Fraz77 says something that just doesn't get mentioned much. Fabinho was promoted from Real Madrid B and given his debut with the senior team by Jose Mourinho. Hopeful. Yes, a bit like Morata was given his debut as well by Jose Mourinho. I think that we're in for an interesting. I don't like to say when people are going to sign. I still am confident that by Sunday night we'll have two, but there's no. Unfortunately, there's no in the know source for that. That is just me and my prediction. So we'll see what happens. But I do think we'll have a couple of players in by Sunday, and then suddenly, start of July, 3 players signed. We're on easy street again. But the only thing I think Morata's going to happen very soon. I think there's a lot being said about Morata tonight. It's certainly going to happen soon. And Perisic, one way or another, has to happen by the weekend because that's when Inter have got to play their financial fair play. So the hard ball will come to a head. We'll either lose or we'll get him.
Yeah, and when you read out the super chat about the formation, I mean, that's the kind of thing that most fans will be thinking about in terms of what's the formation, who's coming in. I mean, I'm daydreaming about the formation next year, thinking that Fabinho will turn up and we do play 3-5-2 and we do have an expansive game going forward. And I'm having visions. It was almost as if I'm a wizard of what next season will be, but those visions won't come true unless we get the players that we've been linked to. And if they don't come in, I'll be left thinking, what could have been, like every other United player. So, fingers crossed for me. I hope we do see someone coming in very, very soon.
Yeah, and I think we will. Rodney, fantastic. We're going to try and do this, I think, every Tuesday we've agreed from now on, haven't we? So,
yeah.
Really looking forward to that. Drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed that. We've made a signing, even if Man United haven't, and very happy with it. But what I would say is that, Rodney started off as a guest on Skype, the same as Sander did. And, that we get loads of good calls on Skype now. So the opportunities are there. That's what it was always there for. And we will try and develop more and more people over the coming weeks and season. So drop us a like. If you are new, subscribe. The next Skype show, just to remind you, will be Thursday night. Tomorrow night, I don't know what we're doing yet, but I must say, when we sign a player, as I've said, the signing will probably happen in the day or the evening. At 8:30, we'll go live with a Skype show, and you lot can come in and tell us what you think about the signing. That's something new we're planning this year. It just hasn't worked out yet because Lindelof actually signed at 9 o'clock. So it didn't work. But it will work. There will be some signings in the day that we can allow you lot to have your say on Friday. And just quickly, Rodney, I never asked you, what's your thoughts on Matic?
Yeah. Okay, right. Matic, I think he might be a good... I mean, I wrote pros and cons in terms of Matic as a signing. I know that he's a Chelsea player, but one, he has Champions League experience. Two, he has experience of winning the Premier League. And he's the kind of player that has what I'd like to call in-game management, which means that he will know from Mourinho's instructions how to close out a game. We had too many games last year, and I think United fans will understand, where we were winning 1-0 or whatever, and then we drew. I think if we are in those positions again, Mourinho wants players who knows when the game is tight, they know how to close out a game. That's what he wants, whether it's being in the Premiership or in the Champions League. So I would say, as much as he is coming from Chelsea, as much as he may cost 40 million, I think the pros outweigh the cons of signing him. And he's just a better player than Fellaini. And I've been digging Fellaini out for 3 years, and I still can't forgive David Moyes for signing him. So, that's my view on him.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't want to sign him, but I did actually have a look on YouTube today at his compilation, which I don't need to do. I don't need to do that because I have actually seen Matic play along a lot of times, and I do laugh at the amount of people who don't know who a player is and they go on YouTube, which I never ever do. If I don't know somebody, I'll put my hands up, but I do get to watch a lot of football, and I know what Matic is like, but I couldn't find a 90-minute game and I couldn't be arsed, so I thought I am actually just going to watch his YouTube compilations. Yeah. And the one thing that always stood about me about Matic is he actually is quite good dribbling. And it almost looks like he dribbles past people because people are shocked that they've took him on. But he does do it quite a lot. So, he has got good close control. I think, he's better than Fellaini, let's be honest. He's a much better midfielder than Fellaini. If we were selling Fellaini to sign Matic, I'd applaud it. But personally, I think there will be games next season where we play Matic and Fellaini. And that, to me, is horrible because they're both slow and they're both just tall.
Mark, that's a nightmare scenario, both of them. Fellaini has to go, please. He has to go. He has to.
Well, we started the show with that, and we'll end it, don't we? The problem with these deals taking so long is we're not even looking at players going out the door yet, and there's a few that do need to go. And hopefully Mourinho will play the hard ball, like you say. But thanks for coming on, Rodney. Really,
no worries.
Really good. I don't know if you're on Twitter to give you a shout out for Twitter. Are you on?
I am. It's at Rodney Cyrus.
At Rodney Cyrus. There you go. You can give him a follow on Twitter. Rodney will be back on next Tuesday.
Yep.
We might get you on a Skype show as well. But thanks for coming on. Really enjoyed that chat. Flew by, which is always a good sign of a good call. And
cheers.
Thanks for everyone on the live comments. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. with the Transfer Daily, and tomorrow night at 8:30, unless something happens. There seems to be rumblings that something will. We might be back at 11 o'clock. I don't know. But if not, I'll see you in the morning and speak to you all very soon. Thanks for watching.